So I've been questioning doing a commentary about this, more or less because it just seems like I'd put this out there for some sort of sympathy from you guys or something, just some sort of comments down below telling me what a shitty person that my ex-girlfriend is, and I'm well aware that she's a shitty person. It's just sort of the way that she is, and tonight sort of just blew up out of proportion. I didn't. I'll just start from the start. All right, I'm just gonna make this video as long as possible. I got all the time in the world to upload this. I don't even care if it gets 2 views. I just wanna get the story down. It just feels better to talk about it, than to just let it sit here festering in my mind. It's just something to do to get my mind off of it. It's in a weird way, it gets my mind off of it by talking about it, by going through everything and just explaining why she's a bad person, and more or less it'll just help it cement in my mind that I should not care about her anymore. So my ex-girlfriend, we started dating around March, March 18th, and I had been walking her home and stuff, because I didn't have a car or anything to drive her home. But we had been walking home from school for maybe a month prior before we started dating. I don't know what really took me that long to start dating. We should have just started anyways. But we would just we would just go and stand behind this fence because her parents weren't cool with me. So we would just go and we would stand behind this fence after I walked her home from school, and we would make out, and it wasn't good. It was good, but it wasn't like fun. It was cold, and it was just making out outside behind a fence. And then I'd run back to the school, and I'd always be late for track. And yeah, and that was all good and dandy. There was nothing wrong at that point in the relationship that I could see visibly wrong with the relationship at all. And this is going to be an extremely long commentary. I'm just telling you guys right now. But there was nothing visibly wrong with the relationship at all at the time. It seemed like a good relationship up until we got about to 2 months. I think on our 2 month, I can't remember if it was our 2 month or our 4 month. I think it might have been our 2 month no, it was our 3 month we got in the argument. So up to our 2 month, everything was great. And then shit started going downhill. She would do this thing where she would try to break up with me over the stupidest shit, and I was so fucking, into her and in love with her and shit, that I just thought it was just the stupidest thing to end a relationship over. I wasn't cheating on you or anything. All I did was ask you why some fucking kid was texting you, and then it got on my mind and bothered me because you wouldn't fucking answer me, so I would ask you again, and you wouldn't answer me. So it got to a point where it pissed me off, and I never really got lit or anything or yelled at her, but I would just keep bringing it up, and then she'd be like, you know what, I'm done, or whatever, and then I would just go upstairs, and we would just sit upstairs, and we'd get in this fucking, 2 hour long fight about the stupidest shit. It wasn't even a fight, it was just her verbally abusing me, saying it's over, it's over, it's over, and me just sitting there crying, saying, why the fuck are we ending it now? We've only been in this for 2 months, and there's so much left to go. We shouldn't just end it here over something as stupid as this. And we had stupid arguments. I can't even remember what they were about. They were just fucking stupid and mundane arguments. And I was so emotionally attached to her at the time because she was my first real girlfriend. I'm going to go ahead and admit that right now. She was my first real girlfriend. So at the time, it was this is the first person who I've ever really fucking loved. And I felt love. Yeah, I did. I felt love. I mean, we were dating for 2 months, and I felt in love with her. It was the honeymoon phase or whatever. And then we fell off around the 2 month. We kept pushing forward though with that shit. She would do that all the time, the emotional abuse shit, where I would just cry. And there were so many instances where she would just break up with me and shit. And then on our 4 month, a little bit after our 4 month, she went out to go on vacation somewhere. I think it was Montana or something, with her family. And she was just she just randomly out of the blue, because she had been talking to her sisters or whatever, because they didn't like me. So we had a little breakup, a 1 day breakup, because she was unsure of what what her sisters thought of me. And her sisters fucking hated me. They didn't like me at all, because we used to get in those fights that were all caused by her. I don't think they understood how stupid the fights were or whatever. I think they thought that I was trying to make fights with her about everything, when it was really in reality just quite the opposite. So her sisters didn't like me. So she went on this trip to Montana, and her sisters just completely convinced her to dump me over text message while she was on vacation. I had nothing to do about it. We were sort of falling apart a little bit before she left, but it was really solid. The night before we left, we were up in her room or whatever, and we were laying in bed, and we were talking about the sappiest shit, getting married and stuff, just stuff you shouldn't even go ahead, because you're just gonna hurt yourself in the end if you talk about that stuff 4 months into a relationship. But we were up in bed, and I was just feeling so fucking I was so I don't know, the ecstasy or whatever. I wasn't on ecstasy, but it was just a great moment, and it was just magical. And then she left and went on vacation. She was texting me the whole way there, and then one day she just started ignoring me, and then I was texting her. I was like, "Why are you ignoring me? Everything was going so good when you left." And then it just sort of progressed into this thing where she was like, I was like, "Do you still love me or whatever?" And she was like, "I don't know." And I was like, "What do you mean you don't know?" And she was like, "I don't know." And then we broke up. And then I wrote her this mean paragraph because I was so pissed at the time, and I completely regretted doing that for a bit, until things picked up again. But I wrote her this mean paragraph, and her sisters saw it. They told her dad, and her dad flipped out, and he didn't want me to see her again. So we were on a 1 month hiatus there. And in that 1 month hiatus, it was during the summer. It was during the summer. That's basically all I have to say about that. And I mean, it was during the summer, so she was home all the time while her parents weren't home, and she would ask me to come over and sneak over, and I would do anything for her. I would make sure nothing would get in the way. I would make arrangements for rides and shit because I didn't have a car or license at the time, so I would make arrangements for a ride to get to her house so I could see her. You know, I snuck over one time at 3 o'clock in the morning until like 7 o'clock in the morning, and then I left, and it was really weird because she would do this thing where she would emotionally abuse me. I can't name how many times she did it, where she would be like, "We're just friends" or whatever, and then she would tell me to sneak over in the middle of the night, and then she would just be like, "We're just friends," and then she would go off and ignore me, and she would get upset with me over things that literally didn't even make sense that I didn't do, and she would just find reasons to emotionally abuse me continuously the whole time during the summer, and I was so into her that I wasn't going to give her up, and I just kept letting her do it for like that whole month. And then I got back to college, or I got to college, and things started picking up. And it was like she thought that she was going to lose me or something. And for some reason, this just all of a sudden, she cared about losing me. And we never had sex during the relationship. And she had brought up the idea of having sex or whatever. And obviously, as a guy, I'm like, holy shit, this fixes everything, you know? Like, you emotionally abused me for, I don't even know, 3 months. And now you want to get back into a relationship that involves sex. And then I was like, okay. And then we were starting to talk nice, and then we got into fights, like, and then she was like, "I'm gonna tell my mom we're dating, and you're gonna come over today." And it all went smooth. She was like, "Mom, I'm dating Tommy again." She was like, "Okay," and it was really weird because I thought her family hated me, but I guess like a month is the time it took for everything to just, go over. So then I was like, okay, and then we started dating again, and it was like 3 weeks, and we fought every single day. It was just not meant to be, but I was so emotionally attached to her. I wasn't fighting her, she was fighting me. I think the biggest fight we had was about homecoming, because she's still in high school, and I was in college, and I wanted to go to homecoming, and she was like, previous students can't go or whatever, and I was like, did you check that? And she was like, no, and I was like, how are you sure about this? And then she was like, I don't know, and she got all pissed off at me, and I was like, so are you just not going to even bother asking me? You're not going to bring me? And like, because originally she didn't even ask me to go to homecoming. She didn't bring up anything about it. She was just like, I'm going to homecoming with my friends. When I was sitting at dinner with her family, she was like, her family asked her who she's going homecoming with, and she was like, I'm going with my friends. And I was like, what? I didn't even remember homecoming was coming up, and you didn't even bother asking me. And she didn't even know at the time that I couldn't go. And she didn't make it clear that if she did know. So then we fought about that, and I was like, what the fuck? And then she broke up with me over that, literally over that. And that day I had my test for my license, my driver's test or whatever, and I failed it. I completely bombed it because I was so fucking distracted by everything else that was going on in my life. I was like, I can't focus on driving right now. My girlfriend just fucking broke up with me, and I'm so fucking emotionally attached to her, and she keeps treating me like shit. And it's a weird thing, the way that humans work, where we want the people who fucking treat us like shit because it feels like we can't have them or they're out of reach. If somebody feels like too accessible or whatever, we get bored with them. And I feel like that's the way I was, and I feel like that's why she got bored of me, and I feel like it's somewhat my fault that I let her emotionally abuse me to the point where she felt she had control over me. And she did. And this is only like half the story. Okay, so after this, we broke up. There was about a month where she would ignore me for like days or whatever, just randomly out of the blue, and then there would be days where she would tell me she loved me, and she just played with my heartstrings, and I think part of her was trying to hold on, and I just got pissed off. I just got fed up because she was like, all right, I'll ask my dad if I can go out with you again, because she was originally going to ask again. And then she's like, my dad said I can go out with you, but he doesn't want me to go out with you. And her dad had all these biased opinions on me for completely irrational reasons that had nothing to do with anything. They were just like, like when she broke up with me, she would go and tell her dad everything, and she would obviously put me in the most negative light possible. So her dad hated my guts for completely bullshit reasons. And then, yeah, so we went into that, and she just told me that her dad didn't want me to date her. And I was like, what the fuck? I've been waiting for a month for you to even get up the courage to ask, or even ask at all, and now you're telling me you can date me, but you're not going to because of your dad's opinions that are completely skewed towards you, and towards your favor, like, of him hating me, and you're just not going to date me even though your dad's opinions on me are wrong. And I just got pissed off, and I was just like, and she was like, Tommy, I'm sorry, and no, it was like the day later, because I was really fucking mad at her. I didn't talk to her. She's like, Tommy, I'm sorry, I love you. Please say I love you back. I won't be able to sleep tonight if you don't say it, and all this shit. And then I was just like, you should have been there for me when I needed it, and I was trying to take a stand. I was trying to be strong, and I was trying to fucking, like, get it through her head that she couldn't emotionally abuse me anymore, and it backfired. It totally backfired. I ended up treating her bad that night. For one night, I stood up for myself, and I regret it right now because I'm still emotionally abused and attached to her. So I regret it. And so that happened, and the day after that happened, she sets up a date with a kid named Greg. She's still talking to this Greg kid, and I'll get into that. This is a seriously long commentary. So she gets into this thing with Greg or whatever. They go on a date, and I completely flip out. I was like, it was one night where I got mad at you. You didn't have to go out and go on a date with a guy after one night. I was mad, and you knew I was going to forgive you. You know what kind of person I am. I wasn't going to stay mad at you like that. And she went out on the date with this kid, and she was telling me how much she loved him, or how much she liked him, not loved. And she went out on 3 dates that weekend. It was a weekend. She went out on 3 dates that weekend. Because I told her off on a Thursday, and on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, she went on 3 dates with this kid. And each date, she told me she loved me. And I got pissed off because I was like, this isn't fair to this kid either. And part of me was like, if nobody can have her, or if I can't have her, nobody can. It was sort of mean of me, but it was sort of at the same time like, what the fuck did you do, Andrea? Oh, I said her name. But it was sort of just like, what the fuck did you do? Like, why are you dating this kid? And then I tried to tell the kid, like, she was telling me that she loved me, and you probably shouldn't jump into a relationship with her fast because I know she wants to in spite of me. And he just completely blew it off, called me a faggot. And then Andrea, she got mad, and she told her friend Greg or whatever, all these mean things about me, and he just brought them up, and he was like, these were direct words from her, so I know that she was completely bashing me, and I got upset, and I yelled at Andrea, I yelled at her again, I'm just going to say Andrea, I yelled at her again, and I was fucking pissed. I was so mad at her, and I was like, I just want to give you your stuff back or whatever, and I just want this to be over with. And she kept making it such a big deal and bringing her stuff back. And then eventually I got her to a point where I got her to agree to apologize. And I drove over to her house without her stuff because I didn't feel she deserved it until I got the apology. And she was going to apologize for all the stuff, and then we were freezing outside. She couldn't come up with an apology because she's just a shitty human being. She can't apologize for anything. She's just so shitty in that aspect where she just does not feel sympathy for the things she does. She just feels like she's always in the right, and everybody needs to get the fuck out of her way. So she did that. And then I made out with her that day. We went up to her room and we made out because she was like, you want to go inside because it looks like you're cold, because she was apologizing to me in her fucking garage because that's so nice of her. So we went upstairs and we made out, and she completely regretted that too. And from there on, I was like, the emotional side of me was like, it's not over. I kept trying to get back with her, and then things started falling apart with Greg or whatever lately, and then she was like, I'm totally done with Greg. And then she told me she loved me one night, and I went out of my way to go buy her fucking tampons and a fucking McWrap from McDonald's, and shit, because she was telling me she loved me. She was telling me that she was going to pay me back for all this stuff with kisses, just bullshit, sappy shit. And she told me she was going to pay me back for all the stuff that I was doing for her, and she didn't. Tonight, she basically established she was not going to pay me back because I kept annoying her. Like, she blocked me on Snapchat. So I made a new Snapchat, and I was Snapchatting her, and I was like, are you going to pay me my money you owe me, or are you going to pay me and making out with me? She's like, there's no way I'm making out with you, ew, which doesn't make any fucking sense because she wanted to fuck me. So she was like, I'm not making out with you, ew, and I'm not paying your money. And then at one point she was like, okay, I'll pay your money once I get my job at McDonald's. And I was like, it's $10, that I spent on you. I either want my money or I want what you originally promised. I want you to kiss me, like a bunch of times, so make out with me. And she just went out of her way to completely block me and try to getting out of paying me. And then she said, like, I'm going to tell my dad that you're harassing me or whatever. I was like, you owe me money. You promised me these things, and you said you loved me, and then you completely emotionally abused me the past, like, 2 weeks since. And now you just block me on everything and not pay me back what you promised and what I was so nice to her even after that date. I was talking to her about Greg and everything, and I was being really cool, and I wasn't bringing anything up. I was being really fucking nice. There was not a single time where I was mean to her. And then tonight she just decides to flip a shit on me and block me on everything and say, I'm telling my dad you're harassing me. And now her fucking dad hates me even more because he thinks I'm harassing his daughter over nothing. She didn't even tell him, I'm pretty sure, why I was even, like, harassing her. So then she was just like, leave me alone or whatever. And I just sent her, like, a paragraph apologizing. I apologized. She has me so emotionally abused, and I would still, at this point, if she were to say, come over right now, I love you, I would do it. I would do it because I still have these feelings for her that don't fucking make sense to me. Like, in my head, if I were to give a relationship to advice to anybody who was in my situation, I would just say, fuck her, dude. Do you have any idea? Don't fucking go after her. Don't even try to be with her anymore. But in my head right now, for some reason, I'm still so emotionally attached to the person that I met, that I was with for the first 2 months, that I can't let go of that. So I sent her a message apologizing. She read it. She's not going to respond. She's clearly talking to Greg or something right now. She posted some shit on Instagram, and Greg responded. So I know that this weekend they're probably going to end up dating or something. And I just get the short end of the stick on every fucking thing. I was promised something by her. She told me she loved me. She turned around the next day, told me she didn't love me, then spent 2 weeks emotionally abusing me. And then tonight she says she's not going to pay me after I harassed her. And then she tells her dad, and now her dad hates me even more. And now everything's just shit with her. Like, there's no chance I would ever be able to get back with her. But at the same time, it's like, if you were to tell me to come over right now, I would. If you were to tell me to do something for you right now, if it meant you would say you love me one more time, I would do it. I am emotionally abused to a point where it's just fucking awful, and this has been one of the reasons I have not been able to do anything with my life, is because I've been so focused on getting this whole relationship between us to work. And I have told my friends different sides of the story in order to not sound like a complete pussy, but this is the 100% truth. I am not lying about anything in this. Even if you looked at it from her side, there would just be so many things that she did wrong. And I feel like this isn't even biased. This is just the honest to God truth of everything that she did to me and every unfair way she treated me. And I could get into detail about every single time she was mean to me, but there's probably hundreds of times at this point. And I'm emotionally fucking destroyed. This affected my schoolwork in college. This is one of the reasons I haven't done good in college. This is one of the reasons I don't see myself being able to go through with a lot of my life decisions from here on out involving any sort of relationship with a girl or involving doing a lot of things. She has ruined my perception on what love is. I'm too scared to get this close to anybody ever again because I do not want this to happen to me. She has emotionally destroyed me, and she is unapologetic to the fact. The last message that she sent me, I'll read it to you right now. I sent her all this nice stuff, and I was like, can I at least have my letter back? It's a letter that she wrote me for our 2 month, and I wanted it back as some sort of memory shit or whatever. And she was like, I tore it up and threw it away. And I was like, why would you ever do that? And she's like, I don't need it. And I said, I told you I want it back. Do you enjoy emotionally abusing me? And she was like, okay. And she was like, no, you just annoy the living shit out of me. You put it upon yourself. And I said, you loved me that night. You loved me that night. I went out of my way and bought that stuff for you. I was good to you ever since that. How do I bring it upon myself? And those were the last words she said to me. I said some stuff after that, but it's really sappy, long fucking paragraph shit that you don't want to hear. But I tried with her. I tried so hard to keep her in my life, and I get that I need to let go, but at the same time, it's just like how do you let go? I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do in terms of any future relationships I have. Right now, it feels like the whole world just fucking shit on me because I have, judging by the fact that she read my long sappy paragraph at 9:09 and it is now 9:47, I take it she's not going to respond. I take it she is happy with these guys she is talking to, including Greg, who she will probably end up dating this weekend. I take it she does not need me. She does not need to respond to me. I take it that will not be on her mind anytime soon, and she will not be responding to that message. And that fucking kills me inside. That fucking it destroys me inside knowing she no longer cares. Because you always want what you can't have, and she is what I have not been able to have for months now. And I had so many feelings for her, and I would have done anything for her. And I'm not some loser or whatever. I've talked to other girls. I got mad. I talked to other girls. I went out and I did one thing with a girl when she was treating me like complete shit. That night she went on a date with Greg. I went over to a girl's house and we made out, and that was it. I did things to try to get her off my mind and they didn't work. I'm not a complete loser obsessing over one relationship that I ever had. Well, I am, but I'm not. I'm just trying to put it in perspective that I'm not as big of a loser as this lets off. But I'm just emotionally scarred because I cared about this person for so long. It's been 10 months since the day that we met. More than 10 months now. It's 10 months and 3 days since the day that we met. And I don't know what to do. I feel like maybe fate will lead us back together, but at the same time, it's like, for what? There's already so much damage done between us that I don't know what to do. I just don't know how to go about living like any sort of normal life without her, without any contact with her, because I've had contact with her for 10 months and 3 days. I have not had a day where I haven't had at least one message from her. And now I'm going to have to live like this. And she is so, she's emotionally abused me to the point where I feel like I need her. I don't know. I love you guys. Have a good day.